Deep in the heart of the Karakoram Range lies a land where myths come alive. Here, the air is thin, the nights are long, and the silence speaks louder than words. It's a place where nature rules supreme, and humanity seems small and fragile against its vastness. This is the story of Sakawat, a boy whose life became intertwined with mystery, madness, and forces beyond understanding. It was April 8th, 2008, a day that would forever be remembered by those who lived through it. For hours before dawn, the storm raged outside. The wind screamed like a living thing, tearing at rooftops and bending trees until they groaned under its weight. Inside the house, however, all seemed quiet, at least for a little while. Sakawat's mother woke early, just as she always did. She washed her face with cold water, performed her morning prayers, and began her daily chores. Life had not been kind to her. Years ago, her husband passed away suddenly, leaving her to raise 5 children alone. Since then, strange things had started happening in their home. Things no one could explain. Her youngest son, Sakawat, was especially troubled. He often spoke to himself, his words jumbled and unclear. Sometimes he would scream in the middle of the night, waking everyone in the house. Other times, he would disappear for hours, only to return covered in dirt and leaves, unable to explain where he'd been or what he'd done. The villagers whispered about curses and spirits, but Sakawat's mother refused to believe them. She thought it was just an illness, a sickness of the mind that could be cured with time and care. What she saw defied logic. The iron bars that once secured the window were twisted like paper, their sharp edges glinting in the harsh light. The curtains hung in tatters, shredded as though by claws or some unimaginable force. The bed was soaked, dripping water onto the floor, and steam rose faintly from the wet sheets, as though they had been scalded by unseen heat. But most horrifying of all were the traces left behind, marks that spoke of chaos and desperation. On the walls, smeared in grotesque patterns, was a gelatinous green liquid unlike anything she had ever seen. Its texture pulsed faintly, as though alive. And on the floor, near the shattered remains of the window, lay the only garment Sakawat had worn, a single piece of clothing discarded carelessly, as if torn from his body in haste. Sakawat's mother stumbles backward, clutching her chest. Her scream pierces the silence, raw and primal. Her son was gone, not just absent, but vanished without a trace. No footprints marred the muddy ground below the house. No cries echoed through the stormy night. He simply ceased to exist, leaving behind only questions and fear. Word spread quickly in the small village nestled miles away. By sunrise, whispers filled the air, carried on the wings of gossip and dread. "It's the Lukha," they said. "They've taken him." For centuries, stories of the Lukhaes have haunted these lands. These beings are said to roam freely during spring, when the snow melts and the rivers swell. They prey on the vulnerable, the lost, the disrespectful, the cursed. Those who anger them vanish without warning, never to return. If they do come back, they are changed, hollow shells of their former selves, bearing signs of torment endured in realms unknown. Led by Rosie Mohammed, the search party scoured the surrounding wilderness. They combed every inch of forest, scaled treacherous cliffs, and waded through icy streams. But no matter how far they ventured, no sign of Sakawat emerged. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. 2 months passed, yet the mystery remained unsolved. Some claimed to hear faint cries echoing from the mountains at night. Others reported seeing ghostly figures wandering near the riverbanks. Still others refused to speak of what they'd witnessed, their faces pale with unspoken terror. According to legend, those abducted by the Laka face a grim fate. If they obey their captors, if they consume the ashes and bones offered to them, they may find themselves deposited atop a roof or a mosque, dazed but alive. But if they resist, the punishment is swift and merciless. Their hair is shaved, their bodies hurled from mountaintops, rolling down like stones, until nothing remains but dust. Was this Sakawat's destiny? Had he angered the spirits somehow, unknowingly crossing boundaries best left untouched? Or was his disappearance merely the tragic culmination of a life unraveled by mental illness, misunderstood and untreated? To this day, no answers have surfaced. The house stands silent, its windows boarded up, its halls heavy with the weight of unanswered questions. Locals avoid passing by after sunset, claiming they can still hear faint noises emanating from within. Whispers, footsteps, the occasional splash of water hitting stone. And so, the story of Sakawat becomes another chapter in the annals